I worked on mobile field surgical teams, mobile operating theatres in the field. Member of the Royal Army Medical Corps for 24 years. What this job was going and set up mobile operating theatres that you see in hospitals in the UK, but just anywhere in the world. We would set them up in old buildings, on the battlefield, to the back of helicopters, back of aircraft. In the May of 2008, I was on my 4th tour of Afghanistan. We were targeted by a vehicle suicide bomber. He targeted our vehicle and proceeded to detonate his bomb on his vehicle in close proximity to the lead vehicle I was travelling in. As a result of that, I ended up having to have a spinal fusion done over 3 levels of my lower vertebrae, which included a big operation, 2 metal rods inserted down my lower spine, 8 screws and some bone graft put in. And now I have a continual process of medical procedures done through the year to help concentrate some of the nerve pain within my back. I became involved in Race2Recovery at an early stage, both with Tony and Matt and Tom. When I was going through Headley Court, I got an email from Tony saying that a rally team was being formed. Having served with Barney and fought in the same grounds and forward operating base in 2008 when I first met him, I then brought Barney into the team really. I met Barney at Headley Court one day. I went out for a quick fresh air break during my rehab, and there's a young lad in a wheelchair and spins round, and it's young Barney, and I hadn't seen him since 2008. Obviously a lot had happened to him with his incident stepping on an IED. Told him about the team, and he came on board at first as a mechanic and everything. What I felt I could bring to the party was obviously working within operating theatres in the field. You have a lot of logistical knowledge to bring to something like a rally team. Although the components are different, you're dealing with engines and oils and lubricants and people, it's still a commodity that has to be moved about. So I came across to manage the guys, look after feeding, accommodation, logistics, and the role really developed as we then developed the idea of competing in the Dakar. I grew with that role really. I'd personally not been involved in motorsport before my injury and before getting involved with Race2Recovery. So the learning curve I had was very steep, as with the rest of the guys, and in getting over our injuries and adapting to motorsport and finding out what changes we need to make, adaptations to vehicles. But really, the anticipation of Dakar, when we got it into our heads that this was something we were going to follow through as a challenge, we never looked at failure really being an option. Whether that's the squaddy mentality, and I'm sure people who have served or are serving watching this will know that. The Dakar really falls into that category of a big event, a big test to put yourself through, both as an individual and as part of the team. But overall, the experience has done so much for both me and I feel other team members in the recovery process. In the services, you're used to working in that military team. When you should get injured, you go to Headley Court, and it's very good. You're back with other injured servicemen who are in a similar position to you, know what you're going through. But then, as Headley Court got busier, obviously with a number of casualties coming in from Afghanistan and Iraq, the time in between admissions became longer, so it was longer periods at home, which can be long, dark days, to be honest. Life goes on around you, everything in the army still goes on, your work colleagues are still working, still deploying, but you're left at home and normal life goes on around you. Your kids are still going to school, wife's still going to work. So you end up with a lot of time on your hands in thinking about your injury and how it's changed your life. So Race2Recovery, when it came along for me, allowed me to be back part of that team, that group. Fantastic to aid my recovery, being part of that team, a sense of worth again, that you're actually giving something back into something from while you're at home. You feel lost. You know, I've gone through a period of 12 weeks of mobile on a bed where having to have people do everything. So to be able to come through that and then step into a team and play a vital role and really bring it all together, you know, with the help of other people. It wasn't done by myself, it was truly a team effort. And also the experience it gave me of working with civilian team members that came on board, but to overall manage those as well, has given me a different insight to management skills, should I say. But overall, effectively done, I feel. And we were successful in getting that car and caught with Barney Gillespie as the first disabled person across the finish line of the Dakar. It was an incredible feeling. It was, mission complete. I was very proud. I think one of the proudest moments of my life to have seen it through for 2 years, to actually completion of getting a car across the line. What you also had to contend with, though, was with the elation, both of Barney and Matt, was also the disappointment of others. And I've said it during the race and on the documentary, you see the decisions that are made. They're, for the good and benefit of the team. So at times I had to be mercenary. I didn't have time to console individuals, team members who were then out of the race. But I have to say, there wasn't one team member then who unfortunately came out of the race through incident or mechanical failure or crash that then didn't just slot straight into the support team. And I had to remain blinkered to the fact of we still had a race going on, no matter what hit us. So at the end there was time to reflect on that. I was one of the proudest men there on the team. It meant a huge amount. I was very, very emotional towards the end, and it all came out at the end, really, when we got that car across the line. It wasn't only the actual event itself, but it was the whole 2 years leading up to it. It made all that hard work and effort worthwhile. And as I said to the team members before leaving South America, I felt humbled, privileged and proud to be part of Race2Recovery and to be its manager, the glue holding it all together. And we'd achieved the world's first of getting the first disabled person across the finish line of the Dakar, the first disabled team to compete. And I think that's something that every team member who was part of Race2Recovery, whether they were on the race or whether it was part of the support team doing the media, dealing with families, keeping all the network and with sponsors and the PR, anybody that was involved in Race2Recovery, it's all down to all those individuals, not just the team that deployed, but it's down to all the support team, the people that give up their hours, their time, week in, week out, to support us. And it's a very humbling experience, when you take that into account, what these people are giving up and putting in for you to achieve your aim also.